I think I was attracted to the goth scene because of always being an outcast. I needed a way to express myself, usually in a way that not many people did.
We found each other, the Gothic scene and I guess. I've got pictures of myself when I was probably 8, with wax fangs and a cape my mom had made for me, crawling out of a steamer chest.
My family rented a house that was available in a graveyard, and that's where I grew up, playing among the tombstones. And my friends were the ghosts from the graves, and I played with children, dead children.
When I was a little kid, my mom would go and read in graveyards, and I went with her. And it was such a lovely, quiet place to be. I kept going back there and felt very, very comfortable there.
I got into the scene because I had a crush on a girl, and I'll never forgive her for it.
I blame part of this on my dad, though, because we used to grow up, as I was growing up, we used to watch all kinds of horror films, B-movies late at night, and he kind of got me started. And then my mother bought me Anne Rice novels, and from then I just went crazy with it.
I think I was probably about 9 years old when I saw an old Bela Lugosi vampire movie, so I just became enthralled with vampire, and I think that might have been one of my first sexual turn-ons.
Well, you want to know a funny story? I wasn't like this until I died.
He's laughing.
You're laughing, but I died.
You should
I
tell
was in
him
a
the
motorcycle
story.
accident January 28, 1993. Crashed, died. 6.5 months in the hospital, 11 days in a coma, died like actual medical, clinical death.
For 29 seconds, right?
Yeah.
The longest?
Well, no, the longest one was 36 seconds, but I died several times. Like I would die and not stay dead. They would do the whole defibrillation thing, bring me back. And I lost so much blood through my leg, and I had a subdermal hematoma. The blood was going to my head. There was no blood left in the body to sustain life. So every time they'd resuscitate me, I would die. Before that, I was a long, blonde-haired rock and roll musician. And then after the death, and after 6.5 months in the hospital, when I came back to, all of a sudden, I was enveloped in this. People who go to the clubs for a couple hours out of the weekend and put on the black and the velvet and go home and put on their dockers and khaki clothing, and that's the way they live the rest of their life throughout the week. And there are other people who like this lifestyle to be surrounding them at all times. They've incorporated in their home, such as Bridget and myself.
Our home for us is a sanctuary.
If you walk through the front door of my house, you won't necessarily say, this is Gothic, but it is. It's a Gothic sensibility.
With, of course, the prerequisite candelabras that every Gothic home must have.
This room is like a coffin. When I come into my room, I'm accepting the deaths in this life that occur. And so I set the room up so that I can experience this healing.
This is my homage to demon piece.
This couch, 1890s, came from a whorehouse here in America somewhere.
If you took this same decor and you painted the walls purple or black, then it would be stereotypically goth.
This is my favorite painting in the whole world. It's called The Death of the Martyr by De La Roche, and it reminds me of the death of Ophelia. It's my favorite suicide in English literature.
This is the death wall. Also the magical laws, because death is life.
And this would be a memorial to my father, complete with the candelabra. He was murdered by my brother several years ago, so I like to pay homage to him.
Hey, how's it going? Come on in, don't be afraid. Right here through this doorway is my living room, living quarters. This right here is a casket that I picked up from a friend of mine. And my friend said, hey, I have 2 of them and I'll sell you one for $100. Actually, when I first moved into my single apartment, I had no bed, and for a year and a half I slept in it. I closed the lid, but because I'm not claustrophobic at all. And I had a little light set up in there and a couple of little tiny speakers where I can play tapes. Just a little thing going on in there. But people would come over and think I was a complete freak.
I have my own coffin. I decided that since these things are like so expensive and so fancy and so incredible that I'm going to have mine now, I was able to get a used one, which is far more exciting because it had bits of dried flowers in there and stuff, and it kind of smelled of formaldehyde. I had it altered so that I can sleep in it.
What the master plan is to take over the entire building with social vampires. Not exactly like psychotic vampires, people who think they're really vampires, just people who, you know, dress the part, move the part, are the part, appreciate art, poetry, music in that sense. So we're trying to take over the entire building and weed out the unwanted, so this entire structure will become solid in the Gothic vampirism scene.
I like living in this building. It's really great. Bunch of freaky vampires living in.
The neighbors that aren't Gothic are really pretty much terrified of us. One morning I woke up and there was garlic stuck to my front door. You know, you never really know what's going to go on in this building, but eventually they all moved out. They're a little too scared.
I am on a search for recreating skin.
You could describe my art as darkly erotic or erotically dark.
I've always liked to photograph people that are different, and I came across people that said they were Gothics. And then I came across people that said they were vampires. They said they drank blood, and I went, whoa, this is very interesting. This is some of my artwork of the people that said they were vampires, and one way of describing it would be Gothic glamour. Here's another piece of the work I did at the same time, did some of the series. And you know how some people have skeletons in their closet? Well, I've got mine.
From what I remember, it was normal until she divorced my dad. So before, she used to be like a Disneyland mom, and she'd draw portraits and of, like, you know, profiles and all that.
This is an art piece that I did for a show that I wanted to have all my vampire art in, and part of it was for them to walk into a vampire confessional booth and, you know, basically confess their vampire sins.
I haven't gotten into the spirit of Halloween since we made the haunted house and we kept it like that, and so it's just normal now.
This is our